Mali, there has been a coup, where the military, as a result of protest, has removed their president. Maybe they remove him or force him to resign, and it is believed that he is currently being held in one of the military zones or barracks. We don't know. And I even read in an article shortly that the military guys are actually saying they want 3 years to be able to negotiate democracy. All right. I don't want to go into that because I think they probably are still in the process of making their decisions. But I want to ask our guests tonight, what do they think this what does it mean for Africa? Michael, you want to go first?
All right, thank you so much. And it's nice engaging the Malian issue. It's what I've actually been looking forward to engage, to discuss on. But let us even go back to the memory lane, looking at the involvement of Africa into the democratic space. We know that Africa, of course, was largely governed by dictators in the time past. However, that does not remove the fact that those even still wearing garments of democracy are so dictatorial in nature. So the element of the militaristic tendencies is still very high in them. But when we look at this in relation to the present Malian saga, Malian political debacle, I think it's something that calls for attention and that should pass a message to African leaders who have this sit tight mentality around the corridors of power. And when I'm talking of that, I'm talking of the like of Paul Biya of Cameroon, the likes of Museveni of Uganda. These are guys that have melted a whole lot of hardship on their people as a result of their maladministration, the bad leadership. So it's a signal, just like Professor Pierre Lumumba posited, it should be a wake-up call for other African leaders that no matter how forceful they may be in terms of monopoly of power, the military might, that citizens have the right, of course, have the sole decision to oust them out of power. So it's a signal, and I want to believe that Africa is in for something.
Okay. Africa is in for something. Mr. Oluwatosin, what do you think this could probably mean for, uh, you know, states such as Nigeria? I think Nigeria is perhaps at a volatile kind of situation too, because there is a lot of unrest in Nigeria as we speak. Even though the current president hasn't overstayed his boundary, but the thing is that you know there's kind of an atmosphere that indicates that people are not happy. The citizens are not happy. We've seen the Nigerian military, not one, not two, going to video, making videos and saying this is not right. What do you think that could mean? Even though the president is not overstayed, he's still within his time limit. But what do you think what we are seeing in the military could mean?
The issue of Mali in regards to Nigeria. The president of Nigeria has not really overstayed his time, but the election that bring him to power in the second term is questionable. Just like in the case of the president of Mali, Keita, who do not allow opposition to have a free day, arresting them, locking them up, and making life difficult for people there. So the same thing happening in Nigeria. Opposition cannot talk. Opposition that intend to have a protest last year was locked up for months. So the situation happening in Mali is we have a typical one already in Nigeria, and we must commend the Malians for taking to the streets for days and weeks, occupying the street until they are able to force the president out of power, and the military guy forcing the president out of power. But we shouldn't get excited yet, because as you said before, the military guys want to stay 3 years before they negotiate democracy. I am saying we shouldn't get excited, because same thing happened in the country of Mugabe. Zimbabwe. Yeah, same thing happened in Zimbabwe some time ago. Mugabe was fought out of power, and another guy, the vice president thereabouts, became president. And the news we are hearing from that country now is not suitable. It's just like Africa is cursed. It's just like we are cursed because the new guy is even worse than the previous one. And this is not the first time a coup is happening in Mali. In 2012, it happens like that also. The coup happened, the president was removed, then another one now. So we shouldn't get excited about it that the president is out of power and things will start blossom. And in regards to Nigeria also, I would love to see something like that happening in Nigeria. But you will be thinking maybe that is why the president don't want to remove the chief of staff, scared of typical thing taking place, maybe him being removed. So maybe he's scared of them or something. But really, I would love to see something like that happen in Nigeria and happening very soon.
Michael, he would love to see something like that happen in Nigeria. I have seen a lot of Nigerian, I mean, not Nigerians, Africans generally commenting about this issue online, and the atmosphere seems to be like most African youths who are online actually agree. They feel there's a kind of a consensus that African leaders are not leading well. Whether you talk about South Africa, you talk about Kenya, you talk about mostly Uganda or any country so far. I saw a question why on a platform that has many African youths from different countries. When somebody asked which country is the most corrupt, and I found out that everybody were just mentioning their own countries. So, Michael, as a youth leader, as somebody who advocates for the youth, what do you think is actually happening in terms of leadership, whether military or civilian?
Well, the corridor of power in Africa is so lucrative that whoever gets there will find it so difficult to leave, most especially for countries that are just evolving into democracy. As of today, I was reading a report from Ivory Coast, that's Cote d'Ivoire, about Alassane Ouattara, who played a critical role in sending out Laurent Gbagbo from power. As of today, the same Alassane Ouattara who accused Laurent Gbagbo of staying too long in power is also trying to manipulate the constitution of Cote d'Ivoire for him to stay longer than the normal two-term limit. So these people, they just have that ideology. The same thing was also tried in Nigeria when former President Olusegun Obasanjo was the president when he was bidding for the third-term agenda. The power in Africa is so sweet, is largely meant for self-aggrandizement as against the place of service. That's quite unfortunate. And of course, the present generation of young Africans have come to realize that, of course, the older generation, most especially those who are not leading well, have really mortgaged their destiny, their future, and the need for us, all of us, to rise. When I mean rise now, to actually engage constructively in the demand for better Africa. And before I go further, let me read one or two things to you about the same Ibrahim Keita, the ousted president of Mali. Give and take, Keita has been in the corridor of power for the past 26 years. So you will ask yourself, what else does he want? Now, I'm reading to you his profile. He served as the Prime Minister of Mali from February 1994 to February 2000. President of National Assembly of Mali from September 2002 to 2007. He was elected President of Mali in 2013 and re-elected for second term in 2018, despite the fact that he manipulated the constitution. He manipulated the election. And of course, we know what happened to him recently. And Mali is such a country that is being bedeviled by high level of insecurity. Mali is ravaged by socio-political violence. Mali is so divided, and this man has actually done nothing to improve the state of things. Let me read to you. Mali is one of the poorest states on the planet Earth with GDP per capita of $873. The drought-prone African nation features on United Nations number as least 47 least developed countries, and much of the population relies on subsistence farming as means of livelihood. And when you have a nation that is described in such a manner, what do you expect? And of course, we are just of course, despite we know that democracy is the most acceptable system of government in the world. But we know that the military guys who ousted Keita from office are also one of these people suffering the consequences of maladministration of Ibrahim Keita. So they actually took their destiny into their, and the young people came out to say, no, enough of this nonsense. We cannot tolerate this in Mali anymore. It is time for us to actually liberate ourselves. And of course, we saw the script that played out. The citizens, they synergized with the military because it will be difficult for the citizens to ousted him alone. They synergized with the military, and of course, they pushed this man out of power. What we are saying is this: we need to come to the understanding in Africa that the moment we realize that we cannot perform as leaders, it is more honorable to leave power than for us to be forced out of power. And that is what most African leaders don't realize. In Uganda today, I communicate with you, with a Ugandan friend almost every day. The same thing is happening in Uganda. Museveni has manipulated this country so much that he has turned himself to the landlord of Uganda. Go to Cameroon there, for beer, almost on daily basis, people are being killed in southern Cameroon. And these are guys that have stayed for over 2 or 3 decades in power. Then what are we talking about? It is not democracy is not a monopolistic system of government. Though these countries are practicing democracy, quote and unquote, but the militaristic lifestyle in the life of these leaders ever live with them. And they cannot change. It's now a cause. So citizens need to understand the fact that should there be anything we need to do, it is just for us to constructively engage these powers. For those who are needed to be forced out, let them be forced out. And of course, I read the report of ECOWAS, the report of AU, and the report of UN. They were so keen at ensuring that democracy is restored back into the country. But how many times as UN, as ECOWAS, as African Union, maintain a position as to how irresponsible Ibrahim Keita has handled the situation in Mali? So there is need for us to be very objective in deciding issues, in discussing around issues. And of course, if you see the way ECOWAS has paid out, has given their statement, you discover that these people are always keen at protecting the interest of fellow presidents, not the interest of citizens. And of course, if care is not taken, we just hope that Mali will not degenerate to the point. However, I have this position to make. We know that we know what military system of government has done to Africa, the damage this has done. And I hope the young Malians who took power in Mali will be so conscious of it for the liberation of the people of Mali and not for self-aggrandizement or for self-profiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Those are very interesting points that you have made. Now, I want to go to Mr. Tosin, Lua Tosin. My question to you would be, what do you think is what is your opinion about what African young politicians, what do you think they can learn from people that have been ruling and controlling? I deliberately want to use the word control Africa for decades now. I mean, people of our generation, what can we learn politically from these leaders that we have had? And then what is the possibility that we will not fall into the same pit or into the same, create the kind of mess that these people have created already?
In our own generation, the younger generation, what we'll need to do is to, the last time we were talking about youth involvement in politics and how they will not be given power, how they need to wrestle power with our older generation. At the same time, our generation, we have a lot to learn from the older generation that are in power now. When you are learning from people, you are not automatically replicating are doing. What I mean to learn from them is to see their mistake and how we can do better. How we can do better is how we can put service first. how we can put the people first, how we can put idea first, and not how we can enrich ourselves or how we can stay in power until we are embarrassed out of power. A whole lot of African leaders we have now, or in recent time, they have been forced out of power. They have been forced out of power because they don't want to leave. So in the young generation coming now, we can see them as an example of what we don't want to be. Example of what we don't want to be, how to say goodbye when our time is up, not to overstay the time. And young generation now, we should equip ourselves more. We should work on ourselves more before we think of going into, of getting power. Because a man cannot, as a man thinketh, so he will be. A man cannot perform more than what he knows. That is why sometimes I don't want to blame Buhari, because he doesn't really knows more. So you will not blame him for not doing anything, because it is what you have inside of you that you bring out. So now that we are not given power, we should be spending time to equip ourselves mentally and otherwise, so that when the time comes for us to take over the big stage from the other guys, we are there and we are performing.
Thank you. Michael, we just have a few minutes more to go, and I would want you to comment on this. One of the people that I follow personally when it comes to leadership in Africa, and especially Nigeria, is Sam Adeyemi. And I've seen one of his tweets, this I think earlier today, and I'm going to read the first part of it. He said, leadership without vision is dangerous at all levels. Again, leadership without vision is dangerous at all levels. I pray for you to gain insight into your past and present, and to gain foresight for the future of your nation, organization, or team. And for this to make you ground, your daily work in serving with excellence. You see, these are things that have become like a cliche when you talk about leadership in Africa. These are things we just talk about, because whether in private businesses, whether in public sector, whether politicians, whether bureaucrats, I don't really see any sign of us leading well. Even in family homes, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm a Nigerian and spent most of my life in Nigeria. So I don't really see, now that with the understanding and the kind of mentality that I have now about leadership, I think we've gotten in so much wrong. And you also mentioned the issue of leaving power. The Africans don't want to leave power, whether military or civilian. Buhari, Babangida, IBB, and Co. They were all military guys who dropped their uniform and came to become civilians. What is wrong with us when it comes to leadership in Africa?
Wow, thank you so much. And I would love to go so historical. The immediate post-independence African leaders, the likes of Thomas Kambara Nyerere, the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana, the likes of Mandela, the likes of Thomas Sankara, El Selassie, and a lot of others. These are guys who had vision, they had passion, they had foresight for the Africa they wanted. But unfortunately, the leaders who took over after them, it's quite terrible that they couldn't match up with the vision they carry. So the sit-tight mentality, they just got into the balance of power just cheaply, and they just felt like, oh, we'll die here, we stay here forever. And that is the menace. That is what we are facing at the present time. And I hope the narrative will not continue. So let's keep engaging. It is just so unfortunate that I wish the type of Africa that the likes of Nkrumah, the likes of El Selassie ambition is the type of script that present African leaders are playing. I'm telling you, Africa will be better off than it is at the moment. Well, we hope we'll keep engaging around this discussion.